Well, here we go. The first installment of a new video series entitled Boone Town.
We looked back through our company's history and we said, wouldn't it be cool if we had a series dedicated to just deer that grossed over 170? We had 65 bucks in our history that grossed over 170. We came up with the name Boone Town. We said, wouldn't it be great if we could put the first installment out there with all archery kills?
We hope that we can continue finding and harvesting big, gross boons and putting them on video. It's not that easy, but we've got such a talented team and so many skilled hunters that it's been coming with regularity.
This one's special to us. It's 10 different bucks taken throughout our company's history, dating all the way back to 1993. We've got some faces from the old, we've got some faces from the present, and a couple faces that age a little bit throughout the title. So please enjoy Boone Town. Here we go, 10 bucks, all grossing over 170. Can you believe it?
Here we go. We're going to kick it off with really one of my favorites back in the day. For whatever reason, this particular animal struck me the first time I watched this video footage because he was wide, he was tall, he looked like an older, mature animal. And Don Kiske, his face didn't change much, not near like what ours did, but it was an oldie but goodie. Blast from the past right here.
November the 7th, 1993, crisp, cold morning. Does it get any better? Timeless footage.
Yes. Yes. Oh, God. What a buck. Oh, my God, yes. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. He snuck up on us. Snuck up on the far side and looked right in the tree. How he did not pick us out. It had to be this mossy old camouflage. Right at us. Oh, my God. Hunting a perfect bedding area. I rattled probably 20 minutes ago. Maybe he was coming right up here to us. What a incredible buck.
Tell you what, when we position our tree stand for morning stand, we always try to keep the sun at our back. That way when when they're looking back towards your tree, if you make noise or whatever, they just can't see you. There's good blood immediately. Should be a short track job. There's no problem telling where he's going. Here he is. God, what a monster buck. Look at that rack. Man, what a body too. Huge. Now I tell you what, I can't emphasize the fact how they can sneak up on you after you rattle. But when it's hard rut and you rattle, you better be ready. Because he did, he just snuck right in on us. We weren't ready at all. And luckily we got position and got a good shot off at him, but boy, it was touchy. What a buck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Got a few deductions on the base, couple big points. Got a curving brow tine even. Wow. That is something. It's hard to beat the rut. The monsters just come out of the woodwork. I don't know where they come from. They're just cruising everywhere looking for hot does.
You know, Terry, looking at that hunt, we really didn't, I don't think back in those years, recognize just how tough it was to get a deer of that age class in front of one of our stands. I mean, we looked at that buck and we said, wow, monster. It has, since then, we've evolved and we started breaking them down based on age. How old do you think that particular animal was back in '93?
Well, looking now, you know, back then we didn't know how old he was, but I'd say he was 7.5, 8.5 years old. You know, he looked like fully mature. You know, those two guys.
Giant.
He's a giant, absolute pig coming through the woods. And those two guys have always been very aggressive, much more aggressive than probably you and I as far as rattling. Doggone, they were rattling years ago, and I found it odd. You know, Don was in original tree stand pattern, and he attributed that hunt to the deer looking back at him, had the sun at his back over the shoulder, so the sun was shining in the deer's eyes. There was a lot of things went right, but those two guys have been killing big deer for a long time.
And since then, how many mornings have we had that just after a cold front goes through, you got that straight west wind, okay, which is perfect because the wind's in your face, sun's at your back.
Right.
There's no substitution for that AM hunt when you've got that west wind in your face. And just one of those hunts, we'll never forget it. And we're so proud to have had Jay and Don a part of us back then. And both of those guys have gone on to extremely successful careers in the outdoor industry. So it was kind of neat to see where they got started back there in the Monster Buck 2 days.
I think back then they rough scored or green scored that thing at 169, Jay and Don did, but then subsequently I think they had officially scored, it was 171.
171.
Yeah, so a nice deer, a gross boon right off the bat.
Great way to get it started, and the best news is that's the smallest deer you'll see on this entire title.
Yeah, does it get any better? I guess so. Huh?
They just get bigger from here. Now we go to Don's partner at that time, Jay Gregory. These guys were just killers back then. And not only were they killing deer, they were killing big deer. Here we go to late November, the same year, 1993. This one's got 183 inches of horn on its head, again from southern Iowa. What a great deer to put as the second installment to Boone Town.
And here too, Jay Gregory doesn't look like he's aged a day. This was back in '93. He and Don Kiske both looked the same, and for whatever reason, I don't know what happened to us.
What happened?
He's down. He's down. I don't believe it. He's down. This has been the most incredible rut. It's been so slow, and we've just been talking about, oh my goodness. That deer wore me to a frazzle. I can't even believe I got a shot. Oh, you wait your whole lifetime for a deer like that. I'm in shock. Oh my goodness. It has been so slow for us this year. These deer, they've been with does. It's late. The rut has been late. I don't know if you can tell, I'm a little shook. He's laying over there. I see him. He went down. I just can't even believe I got a shot. Oh. Oh. Oh, I don't know what to say. What a monster. I just absolutely stopped in one opening. I had one chance to get a good shot at him. I had him quartered two right here, but I just couldn't take it. And he finally gave me one good shot, and I got it slipped in there just perfect. Just I gotta sit down before I fall out of this tree. Sun's coming through the clouds now. I'll make the blood show up there. Absolutely, truly one of nature's miracles right here. This is the type of buck that you sit in your living room all summer long and all winter long and you read stories. And finally it came true for me today. It's probably a once-in-a-lifetime animal. Just an unbelievable animal. I tell you, that's a good point when you're rattling. You might not always have as much success seeing smaller deer and subordinate bucks, but boy, it seems like we have an awful lot of good luck on big mature animals. The mature buck in your area generally won't hesitate. If the wind's right, if you can't get downwind of you, he usually come in. It's just hard finding. And I got lucky this morning. I found one. Like I say, this is probably a once-in-a-lifetime buck. I will absolutely cherish this day forever. An unbelievable hunt.
All I can say is those two guys were aggressive. You know, rattling there too. Jay and Don both were really, really aggressive when it came to calling. I think the part that strikes me the most is the fact that he waited and waited and waited. And they talked about a slow rut. Most guys, inexperienced hunters, would have taken an ill-advised shot at that point.
Patience is so important, and if you look at those two hunts from the same year, November the 7th and now November 23rd, and they said everything else was slow. Well, they bookended what we now recognize as lockdown. If you think about it, back then, They were saying what they thought, which was rut was slow. In reality, those bucks get locked down during that central part of November, and we've come to learn that, and that's part of our evolution. That was, 15, 18 years ago. Here we are this day and age. Mid-November is not our favorite time to hunt. We'd much rather hunt those bucks when they're on their own and not with the doe, and you'll see that theme throughout this title. All of these giant deer, they're all over 170, but none of them are with the doe as the script unfolds here.
And the amazing part that we don't know is what the moon phase was, and that's something you could go back and look up. But temperature, it obviously looks cold. They're dressed for winter weather. But temperature, moon phase, high pressure, all of those elements enter into it. And back then, you just can't substitute those kind of days. And both those guys killed two giants on probably pretty typical morning.
You talked about it in the first hunt, aggressive tactics. Those guys are both parked right in the central part of a bedding area. They're both so thick you can hardly shoot through it, but that's the way those guys hunted. They piled in on them, and they were going just based on sign. This is, this precedes trail monitoring cameras. They were just going out there, good old boot leather, putting it down, finding out where those bucks were. They honed in on them and then killed them.
We were always a little too afraid to pile in. Those guys were mashing in and talking about that aggressive nature. We were always just apprehensive, but we have learned so much from Jay and Don, it's not even funny.
Jay called it a buck of a lifetime. He's killed about 20 of those since, So, Jay, I got to call you out on that one.
Yeah, he called it buck once in a lifetime buck. He said it a couple times.
Right.
Little did he know.
Little did he know.
Well, we're going to stay in that aggressive mode, I guess, because this next particular animal was also rattled in. It kind of follows up with Jay and Don's aggressive tactics, and here's one where you got a little more aggressive than normal.
October 30th, 1998, Big Brother Terry spoon feeds me.
Terry had so much confidence in this spot. He was really urging me to use the new call and give a hard rattling sequence. I obliged. What happened next? Well, words just can't explain it.
Man. About to fall out of this tree. Oh my God, what a buck. What a buck, that right there. It was one of the most awesome moments I've ever had in my life. giant animal to come in, make a scrape. I rattled maybe 10 minutes ago, right on this edge of this brush. And he come out looking for the horn. He didn't see him. He wouldn't leave the security of the cover. He made a scrape, turned around to go back. And I think I just killed the buck of a lifetime. Oh boy.
Can't believe he worked that scrape last night. Here's here. Right here by the scrape. Look at that. That's a good sign right there. You know, it's always so tough to hit a deer, any deer, and wait overnight before you go in and track. And believe you me, I didn't sleep. I went to bed about 1:30 and got up at 5, so I haven't had much sleep. I mean, I couldn't. He went out. There's blood right there. Good blood already. Look at this. Oh, looky here. Good blood. This trail is very, very good. More blood right here. Oh boy, here's more blood right here. Look at that. It's just bleeding up both sides. There's blood. Blood. Again, blood. Again, blood. Blood. Blood everywhere. He's stumbling. Blood. Blood. Dead deer. Look right there. Oh my God. Oh. Oh my God. Look at this guy. Look at that. Look at that. I'm not prepared for this. What a deer. What a deer. No words can describe what one hunter feels at this moment. This is a buck of a lifetime, I'll promise you right here. I've never in my life seen a deer like this. Look at that. He's a mainframe 5x5. That's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 points. He's got 15 points and his mass is just incredible. Look at this deer. I'll pretty much going to go downhill from here. I think that's going to be wild. I may never see another deer like this. He's the biggest buck I've ever seen. And I owe this deer to Brother Terry. I'll promise you, Terry, I remember the excitement in his voice when he found this particular area where we hunted this deer. He called me at home and he said, "You're not going to believe what I found." And he said, "I have a situation where there's a funnel through a river bottom, and at one point or another they built a levee to protect the crop fields, and to build this levee they windrowed timber. They backed up all the timber in the bottom, and there's one big windrow that parallels this bottom. There's only 1 or 2 openings where the deer can funnel out." And he looked at all that sign, all the scrapes and rubs, they're right there by those openings, and then he backed off. He got away from that sign, that intensive sign, that doe and little one type sign, and he went to the thickest part of the bottom, one faint trail leading in and out, and he cut a phenomenal deer's tracks going in and out 2 or 3 times. And he said, on a northwest wind, this deer will not be able to get downwind because of the windrow. They can't get out. And first northwest, he took me in there, and we set up, and second rattling sequence, and this guy came in. He came in, and it was so interesting. It shows a mature deer. He came out of his thicket. He committed, but once he got to the open bottom, right where Terry was hung, he stopped. And I've never seen a mature deer move his head like he was, but he was looking for that fight. We're early, we're in the pre-rut, October 30th. We had not seen a deer all day, and we had nearly hunted the entire day. We got in there, did the rattling sequence. He came in and didn't see the fight, and this guy turned around to go back home, back to bed. And just luckily, I had one opening and was able to make a good shot. What a deer. Got a couple words. Thanks, Brother Terry.
Wow, did we celebrate that buck?
Probably a little more than we should have. But at the time, that particular animal, for whatever reason, drew a lot of attention because it was the largest animal at the time that was ever harvested on video. So we capitalized on that.
Unbeknownst to us, we didn't go out that night to kill a 195. Again, it preceded trail monitoring cameras. Terry just went in and found the sign and hung on the sign. And the main thing in this hunt, to me, was something that we still do to this day. We will go out of our way to get to one of those hot spots. We left Wisconsin, drove 6 hours to get into that west wind spot.
There's a lot to it, a lot to being where they're at and finding a track, and that's really what I went on, was just a track and hung on very minimal sign actually at that time. And you're right, we didn't have trail cameras to go on back then.
Nothing, went in, called, no doubt, teed him off. I mean, Terry had us right in his bedroom, and imagine his thoughts sitting there probably maybe 100 yards from us. He'd been laying there all night, and he hears that rattling sequence, that grunt, snort, wheeze. No doubt, he came in looking for a fight. You see him looking, probably I'm gonna say a 5.5, 6.5-year-old deer looking back on it, fully mature, just a beautiful buck. Still my largest to date. I said it, and I actually held true to my statement. That is my largest.
And still, to this day, when you look at that rack and you see those big, heavy, thick main beams, they come all the way around. 30-inch main beams, by the way, on that particular deer.
Remember Stan Potts measured that deer for us.
Yes, he did.
And Stan, he got done with that tape, and he went and grabbed Terry, and he goes, 30-inch main beam.
He sure did. He was floored.
He freaked out, and you look at it, there's not many 30 inches walking around.
We haven't killed many since then.
Now we jump into our time machine. We go forward about 4 years. 2002, October 23rd, our working man, Ben Rising.
Another buck shot in October, another giant, and Mark elaborated on it earlier. You know, you'll see as the video continues that these dates are all pretty consistent. Very few of them in mid-November.
Hunting in northeast Ohio tonight. We got a cold front coming in out of the north. We're gonna go hunt this bedding area of this buck that I've been seeing is a nice buck. I mean, a really nice buck. We're gonna slip in and get into the stand that's kind of covering his bedding area, but there's an area that he's been feeding in that he feels secure before it gets dark and enters the big fields. And I'm gonna try and get in between there and get to that area where he's feeling secure. We've passed up a lot of deer so far this year, and I'm hoping it pays off. I mean, I've seen some nice deer. Done a lot of scouting, and I've got a lot of footage of this deer that I'm trying to kill already in the summer and stuff. And I'm just hoping it comes together tonight, so we're gonna give her a heck and see what happens. I put this stand up yesterday, and I've seen him right here in this fence gap a couple different times, and I'm hoping this tree is so small, it just scares me to death that he's gonna bust us. But it's the only choice I got. I mean, he's gonna be rutting here pretty quick and leaving the property, so I've got to try and do something now. I'm just hoping tonight that he comes off this hill and I can at least get a shot at him. So let's just hang in here and we'll see how it goes. Big buck right there. That's him.
Oh my God. Oh. There, I went clean through it. I can't explain this feeling right now. I mean, I can't even feel my arms. Tell you what, that is the biggest buck I've ever seen, and I have worked so hard to kill that deer. I mean, if you ask anybody that knows me, I have worked and worked for that deer right there, and I just made an absolute perfect shot on that buck. He's been there for 10 minutes, just eating like a pig, and I mean, I'm ready to fall out of this tree. I can't believe it. I can't. I mean, I'm being too loud because he could be right there, but I'm so emotional right now. I have battled this deer for 2 weeks straight since seasoned open. I gotta sit down. I've been so hard after that deer. I mean, I've moved stands and I've moved around, and I mean, this area we're hunting is so hunted hard. It's a high pressure hunted area. We're not far from town. You can hear the road noise in the background. I mean, there's four-wheeler trails in here. I mean, that's what that deer was on, was a four-wheeler trail that had clover growing in the middle of it. Nobody would think to hang a stand or anything. Oh, big buck like that ain't gonna walk that. But I knew what I had, and this is what I wanted, and I got it. It paid off. I can't be any more happier. What a great buck. I mean, we've rough scored him. He's like 187, almost 190. Just an awesome buck for a 9-pointer. He's missing his 5th point here. If he had it, he'd be in the 200 class. And he'd really be something, but he's something to me right now. I don't care what they score. It's an awesome bow kill. It's an awesome deer. These are 13-inch tines. The spread's 19.5, just a beautiful buck. 9-inch brow tines.
Well, what a phenomenal reaction we've got from Ben Rising, and we call him the working man. This guy's been cutting trees for a long time. He's a blue-collar guy and puts in his time, and I think he elaborated on that, how many hours he spent, observing that deer in velvet.
What a giant 9-point. I mean, if you look at that deer, I don't know that there's ever been a 9-point. Maybe there's some that score better than that, but certainly I've never seen one more impressive than that on video. That thing is awesome.
He was framed like a 200-inch animal. I mean, he really was.
He really is.
And Ben elaborated on it, and you could tell by his emotion that he had spent so much time after one particular animal. And Ben's kind of been noted for that throughout the years. When he gets one in his craw, he don't let up.
The feat to me in this particular case was October 23rd. I mean, I understand late September, early October on that feeding pattern. I understand late October, early November, just prior to the rut. I understand late November. Mid-October has been a particularly trying time for you and I. And here he is feeding down this logging road trail or this four-wheeler trail, feeding on clover. I mean, very impressive hunt. To go in and kill that animal that he targeted in mid-October, it's almost impossible.
Once again, by himself, there were no does. Ben says it, he was feeding for 10 minutes like a pig. So that will tell you they're still trying to put that feed bag on. Who knows, the moon might have been a little bit late. Maybe the rut was a little bit later. Maybe it kept them into that feeding pattern just a little bit later. It doesn't look like it's extremely cool out because he's not dressed very, very warm. But all I can say is, again, patience that Ben had. He had the deer in front of him for 10 minutes. Granted, he was falling apart, and his heart was about to pop out of his chest, but he waited until he got the right angle.
And age on this deer, I'm gonna call him a 6.5-year-old deer, just if I had to guess. It's mid-October. You look at all the different ages we've talked about, they're all old. Mm-hmm. So there's another correlation. You don't get these 170, 180, 190 class deer till they reach that full maturity, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Another monster, just too impressive, boy. Well, here we go, our old buddy, Joe Shults, a little Christmas festivity going on December the 26th in 2003. All I know is there's a lot of people just sitting at home, enjoying the festivities, enjoying family. Not Joe.
Cold front passes through. He leaves Tennessee, heads to Kentucky. He's got a lease there, and he had no idea this deer existed, which I think is the magic of this particular hunt. Who would have ever thought that this deer is going to walk out the day after Christmas?
Freak of nature. He's got good buddy Scotty Blair behind the camera.
Watching the weather last night and noticed a front that came through northwestern Kentucky. It's supposed to drop some snow, so we had a few days off between now and New Year's, so we decided to come up here to the lease. We're really pumped up this morning, excited about getting to climb into this stand. There's some standing beans here, so we got food. It's cold weather, snow's on the ground, so hopefully we can intercept something coming in from feeding the bedding area. Yeah, baby. Whew. Man, we just sitting here, and just all of a sudden I heard Scotty tap on the tree stand. He said, "Deer to your left." I looked up and I could not believe what came in there. Whew. This is the second year we've hunted this farm. We have never, ever seen that buck. He came in, started rubbing on a tree here just a little bit, give me a good shot. I made a good hit on him. We seen him run out of sight, and I seen him standing over here, and he walked into a thicket. I know I made a good hit on him, and I cannot believe it. That's the biggest buck I've ever had a chance to shoot in my life. Yeah. I know I made a good shot on him. There I went through him, and he stuck down here in the ground. I seen him make his way over here about 40 yards, and he eased off in some thick cover, and I lost him. Man, look at this beast. Here we are in the late season. Persistence will pay off. The late season can be as good as early season because once again they're back on a heavy feeding pattern, trying to put back on the body weight for the cold winter months. And this double main beam buck came by us this morning, offers us a great 12 yards broadside shot. Front came through the day before, brought a little snow, and all of a sudden today it's a beautiful day, high pressure, and the deer were on their feet. I'm telling you, man, nobody in North America in the hunting woods is any happier or luckier than I am today. And what a magnificent animal, and what a way to end your archery season. And it's a great animal to take any time ever, and I promise you, I'll never outdo this deer. And I'm the luckiest hunter in the land today. It was a tremendous deer, caught us off guard, really nervous, happened really quick. The emotions, I just can't explain it. Deer didn't probably go 45 yards and expired, and it was the greatest day in the timber I've ever got to enjoy in my life.
How about that? 206 and a few eighths, the largest deer in Drury Outdoors history. At the time was the largest deer ever killed in video history. Just a mega giant for Joe Shults down there in Kentucky.
Well, and you couldn't be happier for him. I mean, when you see a freak of nature like that one coming through the timber, you know, most guys would just absolutely fall apart. And that's about as rattled as you will see Joe Shults. He knew what he had harvested the moment he let that arrow fly, prior to that actually. But when you see a deer like that, it's really tough to get your bow drawn and then hold that pin on.
Well, in December, to look at a deer, and to me, when I look at this deer, I've never seen many deer that have that look in his face. So that tells me he's probably 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
You know, you see a lot of 3, 4, sometimes the 5-year-olds. You start getting less and less when you get to that 6, 7-year-old class. But that deer, when you look at him, he just strikes me as super old. And man, there's horns coming out all different directions. None of them are broken, which tells you that nothing got close to that deer the entire rut. There's not a tine on his head that's broken. And then he comes in December 26th. I mean, it's just a miracle. I mean, he didn't know the deer was there, and you get a monster like that. It's unbelievable. So we go forward 1 year on the calendar. We're going to 04. This time it's Brother Terry. He's up to bat. And if there's one thing we look forward to in early November, it's that first cold rain front.
Well, here's where the tide changes just a little bit. You know, thus far, we've been talking about rattling and grunting and calling and all those things, and we didn't have that MRI, that most recent information. On this particular animal, we did have information. This is kind of the inception of the wildlife eye, and you know, all of a sudden trail camera pictures started taking effect, and we really utilized that to our own benefit, trying to make sure that we knew what deer were in the area, we knew when they were coming to and from a different spot. We were looking at different scrapes. There was a hub scrape within just a few yards of the tree stand. Actually, went to that scrape and picked a tree as far as where to hang.
And we hung the right one.
Got to hurry. Mark told me that it was a day just like this, windy, rainy, nasty, misty. He saw, I don't know, 8 or 10 different bucks. He killed a buck on a day like this, so I'm kind of in a little bit of a hurry to get to my stand. I'm going to a cornfield. It's back in a hidden little hidey hole. Perfect staging area before they go out to the destination feed field. Hung it yesterday, just hung it. Because the wildlife eye, there's buck after buck hitting this scrape. Hung right within, I don't know, maybe 5 yards of the scrape. So we'll see what happens. I'm kind of excited, as you can tell. Normally, I'd have been my old lollygagging self, you know, and took my time, and I'd got in there a little late. I might have blown the whole deal. All of a sudden, I see a set of antlers coming through the timber across the field. There's a big shear back there. Back behind me. In one respect, I'm really glad because that's an awfully nice deer, but in the other respect, I'm a little concerned about the penetration. You know, I'd have liked to have seen that arrow zipped right through him, and I'm not sure. I felt like it was a 10 ring. I thought I put it right where it needs to be, but it might have hit that off shoulder. I'm hoping that was the case. I'm hoping I don't know. I'm not real sure. I'm hoping it wasn't shoulder blade. I don't think, because the blood is just spewing out. So I feel real good about the hit. But like I always say, when in doubt, back out. I want to go back and review the footage, take a look at it on a monitor.
He's done. He's done.
Are you sure?
Guaranteed. 100%.
When I saw it,
He's
looking
done.
through the
He
camera,
got
it
full
looked
penetration.
like
It
the
stopped in
perfect
the
shot.
off shoulder.
Is that what it was?
Oh yeah, he's done. Go get him. Guaranteed.
Well, we decided to put all of our gear back on and head out into the timber and see if we could find him.
Oh, I hope we find this deer. He is a giant. A Jim Dandy. Dead deer!
Oh, man.
Oh
Boy,
my
he is
God,
a-
Terry, what a deer.
Oh my God, he is.
What a deer, bud. Congratulations. God dang, congratulations.
Man, oh man. He is.
Thank
he
you,
is
Lord.
way bigger. Way bigger. Oh,
What did I
my-
tell you?
Oh my God.
Not ground shrinkage, but ground expansion when they got a body like that. Look at that body, guys. He's a cow.
Look at that, man, oh man, what a feeling. I mean, it's just like a huge anvil or huge weight taken off your shoulders. Oh, this is perfect lighting for what we're getting ready to do. We're gonna go up and grab that big horse, get him out, try and get some photos shot this morning. Man, what an evening, what a night. You know, I said it last night and I'll say it again. You know, I don't know if you can say that a person really deserves to kill an animal or harvest an animal like this one, but I know there are probably a lot of other people that deserve it way more than I do, even though I'm very appreciative, and I want to thank you, number one, because without you and your farm, it wouldn't be possible. But I don't know, it's just one of those deals where you really don't ever imagine that you're going to harvest an animal like this. I don't, because it's been so long time coming, you know.
You never expect it. I mean, look at this thing. He's like something out of a dream.
This one really does have a story. I mean, with the trail camera photos that you've got of this buck, the reason that we hung in that particular spot was for this particular animal.
Yes.
Then getting the wildlife eye out there and finding out that there are several other big shooters there in addition to this one. you know, it gets you pumped up and makes you really want to come back and continue filming, continue hunting. It's something that just doesn't happen often enough.
What a dream come true. I mean, congratulations. Nobody deserves it more, brother.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, really.
Thank you, buddy. You are the man. If you were Linda, Barbara, Nancy, I'd kiss you, but you're not, so I'm just going to pat you on the back. Awesome.
You know, I'm going to interject one thing here very quickly, that without the opportunity that Iowa DNR allows non-residents to come into this great state and hunt, and they've got so many programs that really are very instrumental for people to cooperate and really participate in, whether it be filling out that card that they send you each year so they can keep track of what type of harvest, so they know how many does need to be harvested and how many bucks have been harvested, or it may be something with children, you know, where they involve children in a program. We really, to protect this sport and continue the ethics that's behind it, we're kind of the flagship. We're going to have to run the flag up and really you know, set an example for the youngsters to follow, and that's really what it's about, you know. And we have an opportunity to do that. We have an opportunity to share it with a lot of viewers, and I kind of feel like it's our responsibility. I really do.
No question. Well, you're flying the flag well, brother. Congratulations. Nobody deserves it more, buddy.
Thank you.
Good job. There's another buck we celebrated just a few evenings, Terry, if I recall correctly.
Celebrated that one a little too hard too, didn't we?
It took about 6 years to pay him back, but by God, we finally did, huh?
Only I had to hang that set too, if you remember.
Yeah.
I hung them both.
Big, massive buck. That's the thing that struck me about that deer, was just the incredible mass. I think he was 7.5, maybe 8.5-year-old deer. But if you look at that thing, he looks like an armored tank coming through the woods. You know, just coming through on natural movement, didn't come to a call, which is not easy to do, to catch one just coming out of his bed and coming through you. And Terry hit on it before the hunt. MRI, we knew that buck lived there because we had pictures and had wildlife eye.
But the reason that I was able to get there in time was because you had stressed the importance. We had a rain shower that was pushing through. And Mark said, you know what, boy, we need to get in a tree or be in a tree when that rain ends. And we did have that information, saw the pictures of that particular deer or the wildlife eye footage of that particular animal, hung really, really close to a scrape. And it just so happened that we got into that tree, and really we're climbing up. There were deer in the field when we were climbing up, and you don't see that in the video footage, but made it into the tree without boogering the field or without spooking the field. And just fortunate enough, when I first caught a glimpse of him, I thought he was a nice deer, thought he was in the 160s maybe. I didn't have any idea he would score like he did.
Ground expansion, you gotta love it. And another chapter for us. You know, slowly but surely you learn things as you go through them, and then you reflect back on them. But that weather front in early November, when that rain sets in for 2 or 3 days and then starts to peter out about day 2 or 3, and especially when that's matched up when they normally get up and move, do whatever you got to do. Lose your job if you have to, but go get in a deer stand. North wind, you cannot beat it. Let that rain in and get in that stand.
That was a northeast. We were slipping that wind just a little bit, but it was absolutely perfect for that particular spot. Here we go, Big Daddy, longtime friend of Mark and mine. Keith Keane has been hunting for a pretty good while. And this is a deer, I think maybe his first as far as the big deer. This was probably the biggest one for him at the time.
Fall of '05, we go forward one more year. It's Big Daddy, big Coke cans coming through the woods. Cannot wait.
Great state of Illinois.
There's no better feeling in the world than pulling up to the gate of your hunting farm and just wanting to get out so bad and unlock that gate and get to your cabin and just get the ball rolling here. It's the right time of the year, and I mean, we just couldn't wait to get going. There she is, big boy. What do you think about that new cooler?
I'm ready to get a buck in it.
Yeah, I hope we use it this week.
I remember that morning we were sitting around listening to the weather radio talking about where we were going to go. And boy, did Keith's eyes light up when I told him we were going to go to that particular set where I had harvested my largest deer 2 years ago.
Where we going?
Where I killed my deer that day that you filmed me.
I was hoping you'd say that.
That's where we're going.
I love that spot.
All right. No one's been in that tree yet.
I know.
This will be good. Perfect.
I couldn't have been more excited when we decided that that's where we were going. We knew there were some big deer living in that area. We had great wildlife eye footage and trail camera photos of some good deer in that area. Well, heading to the truck this morning for our first what I call real morning hunt. It's the right time of year. We've got a win to go to a tree that Rod killed his big deer in a couple years ago, so pretty fired up this morning. See what happens. November the 6th. I think the rut's just starting to kick in pretty good. We've been seeing some small bucks on their feet. We're in one of our most favorite stands. I mean, this thing's basically bulletproof. We're hunting up over a real high bluff with a creek down below us here. The wind's blowing right in our face and out over this bluff. So, I mean, there's no way they can get downwind of us. So, hopefully we've got a big boy that decides to come our way and presents us with a shot here today. Right, here comes a deer coming down the point. It's got a big body on it. Shooter buck, shooter buck. Oh, Jake. Go down, baby. He's done. He's done. Oh my God, can you believe that? Oh, I'm shaking so bad I can't breathe hard. What a neat buck. It's a double main beam buck. We had pictures of him. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. My son Adam swore to me I was gonna kill that deer. He said that was gonna be my buck. Oh, he's laying right up here about 60 yards away. He went down. I'm excited.
Give me this guy.
Jake.
What did I tell you about this buck this morning?
Oh man, here it came. I mean, I'm sitting here like, oh no, buck coming down the fence. Oh, at first I didn't know if it was a shooter or not, and he got in here, and I mean, he turned, and we're like, whoa, that is a neat specimen. I can't wait to walk up on this deer. Oh my God. That's awesome. Well,
We were just saying we can't wait to get one laying in that.
and the cooler, and here comes a deer down the fence row. Oh. Well, now the work starts, but it's a fun work. Once that deer went down and I knew I'd harvested him, I couldn't control myself. I couldn't speak even. I was so excited. It was a great feeling.
It's moments after Keith has just shot his buck and we see it fall, you know, not 60 yards from the stand. I look up and see two more deer milling around. Keith throws his binoculars up and says, hey, one of them's a nice buck, and hands me his bow because it was heading down the ridge right toward us, the same path that the deer that Keith shot was on. Even though it turned out not to be a shooter, it was a really beautiful 2-year-old, and it was exciting nonetheless, all this action happening all at one time.
What a story this is. I'm standing here holding Keith's bow. We just saw this beautiful 2-year-old running. He got down here about 40 yards and didn't like the situation, but he's got locked up because he's seeing the deer that Keith just shot is laying right over on the other side of the hill from him, and he kept seeing him. What an interesting morning this is. I got to get behind this camera so we can go see your deer, man.
I tell you what was so neat for me this year, you know, besides killing an awesome buck, it was how my family was supporting me and standing behind me the whole time. My daughter Kayla, she's 11 years old. She saved her own money to buy me this beautiful pocket watch with a picture of a deer on it just to bring me good luck. Things like that are just so special to, especially a father, when your children and your wife are there to support you. It makes it a lot easier and fun to go out and enjoy the sport of deer hunting. These are the kind of track deals you like when you can see your deer go down from the stand. There's no question about it. He's laying right up here. Let's go see what we got. Walking up on a deer like that after you harvest him is just, there's no greater feeling in the world. I just couldn't believe it when I walked up on this deer. He was just so neat with that double main beam on the right side. Just going to be a unique animal to have on the wall.
I told you this was your year. I told you. I knew this was going to be your year. I didn't know you were going to get something this interesting and this big, but I'm glad you did.
Yep, you called it, and I mean, you stuck with me. You haven't hunted yet. You filmed me this whole time. You told me you're going to stick by my side till I killed one. I imagine you're pretty happy now because you can start hunting.
Well, I have ulterior motives.
Yeah, you do.
I'm ready to go, man.
This is awesome. Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
After killing that deer, I just could not wait to get to the phone and call home and tell my family about it. Like I said before, they were all pulling for me so much. I just wanted to include them in every moment. We're gonna go get him out right now, guys. And Adam, like I said, you called it. You called it, and Kayla, you gave me the good luck charm. Love you, Kayla. Thank you. And Susie, thank you. When I called Susie, I'll never forget. She was so excited for me. She actually started crying on the phone. And that goes a long way. That just made me feel so good. Well, just go ahead and cry. I'm glad you're that happy for me because, man, that means a lot.
It was so much fun getting that buck back to camp. That first buck of the year, the first big buck on the ground is always exciting.
First buck in our new walk-in cooler. You gotta love it. It's a good one to start with.
That's a really good one to start with.
Let's put another one in there. What do you say?
Tonight. It was just a great morning in the deer camp.
Nice big deer. I estimated that deer maybe to be 4.5, wasn't real sure, but he looked a little bit younger than some of the other animals we'd seen thus far, but what character, what quality, characteristics of that rack.
Just an awesome buck, and you hear us talk about it, and we're kind of reflecting back on these deer from years ago and what we learned prior to that led to killing it, or what we might have learned from that particular deer, but we talk about it all the time. History repeats itself. When you find a stand that there's a gross boon walking by, there's a reason that deer with big headgear walk by stands. Then you go back to that stand and you take 2 out of the same tree. I want to go to that tree.
Congrats to Big Keith Keane. At the time, he probably thought that would be the largest deer he's ever shot, but subsequently, he's killed some pretty doggone nice deer since that one.
You will see he and Jake both in future installments to Boone Town. Here we go. We go forward to 2006, and one of our favorite days to be in a tree, Halloween. Big Daddy John Frank, a different Big Daddy. We're going to southern Iowa. It is Halloween, and when Frank gets in a tree, something's bound to happen.
Here's where we're marrying the two. We're going to put a little trail camera information along with some calling, some aggressive calling, and see what happens.
You know, never in my wildest dreams did I think little brother Adam would kill a 162-incher basically the first night out. You know, typically one big buck dies in camp every year, and I was really hoping that, you know, Adam's buck wasn't the only one that was going to go down.
Short distance from the stand, northwest wind tonight. Going into a spot we call the missing peg stand. My son couldn't get into this because there was a couple of missing pegs, and so in turn we hunted another stand on this farm, and that was the night he got a shot at that 170-inch deer. So let's slide into the stand and see if we can't outdo brother Adam.
You know, it was Halloween day. That northwest wind was scheduled to arrive about 12:30. We knew if we were in the stand, we should get good deer movement. The afternoon passed and we had seen several deer, and then the 3.5-year-old showed up. Really neat buck, not really the buck that I was looking to harvest on a managed farm. He had some neat characteristics that kind of went off the inside of his rack. Really, really neat buck, a buck with some potential. And we were admiring this deer, and I got a glimpse of horns coming.
I guarantee you that's bigger than Adam's deer, and that is an absolute bone-crushing giant, and I just smoked him at 30 yards.
It's been a while since Big Frank's drew back on a deer of that caliber, but my boy did it 2 weeks ago. My brother did it a couple days ago. And now we just made it a threesome right there. Boom, boom, boom. It's been probably 40 minutes. The sun's actually set on us. I didn't hear him crash to the bottom, and I didn't see him go up the other side. My experience with these rage broadheads are 55, 60 yards. You got a dead deer.
You know, we climbed down and we recovered the arrow, but I just didn't feel good about the hit. I want to leave this buck overnight. Sun's just coming up on the 1st of November. Looked at the footage, feeling pretty confident. A liver hit definitely will kill a deer. You just need to give him a little time. We're just gonna creep through there and hopefully we spot him laying dead. Ought to be a good track job. Them rage broadheads leave a good trail. I was following blood and I stopped. I thought I saw a glint of horn. Immediately the Nikons went up. There's my buck right there. You know, over the last several years, the difference between actually harvesting bucks and having encounters with big bucks is my mind isn't in the kill zone. My mind is, are they running the camera the right way? And I had to absolutely release that this year and just have faith that if it was meant to happen, it's gonna happen. I shot this out of the stand that I tried to take Jacob to the night that he had the encounter with his big buck. So it's just sort of bragging rights for Dad that Dad's big buck came out of the stand he wanted to take his boy to. We had deer on their feet going to the corn. We knew that, you know, these deer funnel out of there pretty regular, and there was some pretty good buck sign right along the top of that ridge. Just can't really describe the feeling I had when I seen this guy coming. I made the shot through about a bowling ball sized hole. I actually shot him a little bit back. You know, we left him over 12 hours. We left him almost 14 hours. And sure enough, you know, the adage is true. When in doubt, back out. And we came in this morning, followed the blood trail right to him. If we'd have tracked him last night, he'd have definitely kept running. This is my best buck, my best archery buck. Couldn't think of a better way to, you know, end an archery season.
Boy, sometimes deer hunting just runs in streaks. And you talked about it, or you heard about it there with John. His son killed, and then his brother killed, and then he killed. You talk about a dream season, 3 giants for the Frank boy.
Well, in end of October, you can expect that at times. Those guys had the information, knew those big deer were in the area, piled in or mashed in on them. Plus, he did some calling, did some rattling, did some grunting. So you got to credit John Frank for, he has always been on big deer, notoriously. John's got a good, keen sense for getting on to big deer.
You look at that buck, that's the 7th gross boon we've seen taken with a bow so far in this title, and we have not seen a doe yet. We've not seen a buck following a doe. It goes to be said, we talk about it when the gobblers are henned up, they're almost impossible. When the bucks get henned up, they just don't move very much and it's lockdown. We always refer to it. I'd much rather hunt them when they're by themselves than with those does.
You know, one of the things that amazed me about that hunt, John, being an experienced hunter as he is, he decided, even though he was using the rage broadhead, he knew what kind of lethal hole that thing puts through him. He decided to wait. He knew it was a liver hit, knew it was a little bit back, said, hey, let's wait overnight, go back in there tomorrow morning. He did just that, found the animal. I was tickled to death that he found it.
Big, pretty 4-year-old, giant buck. Congratulations, Big Daddy.
Well, Mark Luster, here's a guy that has got just an absolute history with one particular animal. Even nicknamed this deer Dozer with good reason. This particular animal looks like a dozer coming through the timber. This one's one for the ages. It really is a pretty exciting hunt.
October the 25th of 2007. Let's go to Illinois and climb a tree with Mr. Luster.
Well, I've had a long and exciting and even sometimes frustrating relationship with this deer. My first encounter with this deer was in 2002. He was a 3.5-year-old, and I passed on him and I just knew that he was going to be something. Then in 2003, as a 4-year-old, I get several trail map pictures of him and he'd blown up. I sent that picture in to a contest Deer and Deer Hunting was having, and wouldn't you believe it? I won the best action photo. I nicknamed this deer Dozer because I told my brother that his rack was so wide he'd look like a bulldozer coming through the woods. Then the summer of 2005, he starts popping up all over the Wildlife Eye. After finding him with the Wildlife Eye, I decided to go to the field and film him myself. Going into 2007, I knew he'd be 8.5 this year. I was really worried if he was even still alive. We're getting ready to go in. My dad gave me a call, and my brother both gave me a call, saying they've been seeing a big buck, literally right here on the side of the cow pasture, coming into this old silage field that Dad has that they put winter wheat in now. So anyway, we're gonna go in here and see what happens. We're right on the pasture. There's cows and dogs and everything right here. So we're not certain how this is gonna go, but I mean, we've got 2 different people seeing the same buck in 2 separate days in a row. So I'm hoping that he's on a doe that's not quite in heat yet and he's still with her. That's my thoughts on it. So we'll see what happens. Oh my God, I just nailed Dozer. I just nailed Dozer. He's 8 now. That is an 8.5-year-old buck. I have pictures. I got sheds from him. That is a deer I know so well. When he came, oh my God. Dave, that's Dozer.
That's unbelievable.
Oh my God. I have dreamed of that deer for years.
You smoked him too, man.
October 25th. I love my dad. He told me I seen a giant buck here last night chasing does all over. That's Dozer. This deer I've known actually longer than my 5-year-old son. It's left me nearly speechless. He came in chasing a doe. It's October 25th. My brother gave me a call yesterday, said, hey, our neighbor seen a great big buck chasing a doe in a field right by my dad's house, our dad's house. And my dad called me today and said last night he seen a great big buck chasing a doe by the same spot. So I called Dave, said, hey, we're gonna go in, we're gonna hang and hunt right on this inside corner. I know where these does have been coming out, and this deer came in at 5 o'clock chasing a doe, came right in, did exactly what you want him to do, and exactly what I've been trying to get him to do for years. This guy's gave me humble pie year in and year out, and today it worked. I don't know what else to say. This is the biggest deer I've ever shot, and I can't tell you how tickled I am.
Well, you talk about raw enthusiasm and exuberance. I think Mark displayed just that. He had such a history with that particular animal, starting at age 3.5 all the way up to 8.5. And one of the things that impressed me the most, that he had a longer history with that particular deer than his own 5-year-old son.
And that buck comes through. Frame-wise, he's one of the most impressive deer within this title. I mean, just big, wide, massive buck. And you know, if you pick up the phone and talk to Mark Luster, no matter what the conversation starts out about, his family, baseball, whatever, it quickly goes to whitetails. He's literally obsessed with them, perhaps more so than anybody I know. And I think that's a theme throughout. When you talk about taking big deer consistently, you're not going to do it casually. And you may kill one that way, but you're not going to go out and consistently kill mature bucks. And that's what these guys are all good at it. You look at John Frank, Mark Luster, Keith Keane, Ben Rising, Jay Gregory, Don Kiske. These guys are killers on big deer because they're obsessed with them. They live it all year round.
All of these guys, if there is one common denominator, they are all aggressive and all assertive. They'll take that information, process it, and then they act on it. They don't sit back on their heels or sit on their duff. They go and act on it. He hung a set that day and went in there and killed it that night, and it was information that his dad had passed on to him. Thanked his father. I thought that was telltale.
And it's a cow pasture. Who's going to go hunt that? I looked at that spot and I thought I'd never hang there. As soon as I saw it, as open as it looked, you know, you think October 25th, who wants to go hunt an acorn flat, you know, out in the wide open cattle pasture? Credit him for jumping in there.
That one I will say was with does. So credit Mark for knowing where those does were pouring onto that cattle pasture. And that one, out of all the deer we've seen thus far, that's the first one we've seen that's following a doe.
So we're all ready to our grand finale, a little lady luck in the Lone Star State. We're heading down to Texas with Bonnie and Mike McFerrin, and it is a buck like you've never seen before come out of the Lone Star State.
Buck of a lifetime. Here's a lady that won't miss either.
You know, it's been a circus for us this year. We went to Alberta to film our first hunt. 3 days into the hunt, you know, we're loading the plane up, headed back home. Hurricane Ike has got its sights set on Houston, Texas. We get back home, hurricane hits, we're without electricity for 13 days. The only place that had electricity was our lease, so I took Bonnie and the kids down there. We had planned our first hunt in South Texas at the last weekend of September. That weekend comes, she's still down at the lease.
These sheds right here, Mike was lucky enough to find on a shed hunt last year, and they've been sitting on this table. And we have several Reconyx pictures of this buck, a guy that we've named Big Boy. We're full of hope that he'll come out today and, you know, who knows, we might have an opening day buck. I don't know.
You know, we got all these trail cam pics of this big buck. We've got his sheds. There's no doubt that's where we're going to be opening day of bow season.
Absolutely. I'll be sitting in the chair. Or is it you?
No, it's always you.
You ready to load it up?
I'm ready to load it up.
No, I'll help.
Okay.
Gotta get the hair, gotta get everything fixed. All the stuff that drives Mike nuts. I'm sure he's thinking all these other teams aren't having to deal with a woman.
They don't have to deal with this. It takes her forever. Get your pants on and let's go.
Nah.
You got him.
He has my heart pumping. That is the largest whitetail I've ever taken with my bow. I am so proud of him. Thank you so much, Mike, for running the camera.
He's still in velvet. Opening day deer season, he comes out, gives her a 25-yard shot, and she hammers him.
Oh my gosh, there he is. Look at this buck, Mike. Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my gosh, what an awesome buck.
You know, he goes 195 inches. It's the biggest buck ever killed in the state of Texas by a woman. It's incredible.
Let me tell you what, he is my deer today. Actually, we watched this buck during Dream Season Couples and we elected to pass him because we just thought that he needed to mature a little bit. And what do you think, Mike? I'm thinking right now that was a good decision.
I think it was a great decision.
Oh my gosh, he is gorgeous. As a woman bow hunter, I don't know that I could ever feel a better feeling than this. It is just incredible.
How about that? Set all kinds of records. You know, biggest buck by a lady ever on film, biggest buck in Texas with a bow, biggest velvet buck by a lady. I mean, just rewrote the record books literally with Big Boy.
Well, and she held it together. I mean, you see a deer like that and pass in front of you and make that, you know, draw the bow and make the shot. I know a lot of guys that couldn't do that. You know, that's not easy. That's pretty tough.
Oh, geez, it was unbelievable footage. And for him to still be in velvet, September the 27th, I thought that was just unbelievable. That much horn still in velvet. Awesome scene.
There too, I think they had some history with this particular deer. They had passed him the year before. I think he was 5.5, and they passed him at 4.5. Credit to McFerrin's for letting that deer live one more year, and then Bonnie putting the smackdown on him.
You know, you have to look at what we've learned about managing deer, and it's fitting to end this first installment with Boone Town with the Lone Star State, because really, those guys down there forgot more about deer management than most of us ever know. They've been doing it since back in the 60s and 70s, and it really has just caught on in the Midwest and the rest of the country. And how fitting to have a Lone Star buck, a 195 type buck in Boone Town.
I think the other part to this whole title was the fact that we've seen several states. We've seen Iowa, we've seen Illinois, we saw Ohio, so that, you know, Kentucky, these deer can grow. It's just a matter of giving them a little age, a little nutrition, a little time, and by all means, if you're one of those guys that's able to pass a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, when they get that age on them, by golly, they finally reach their maturity and finally reach their potential. That's a big part of it.
No question, that deer was 5.5 years old, and if you listen to the ages we've talked about, from Joe Shults' deer that we thought might be 8 or 9, you know, Ben's deer, the 195. These deer are all 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. I don't know, certainly in Drury Outdoors history, we've never put a collection like this together with this much headgear. And we've certainly never put a collection like this together with this much age in one particular video.
So I hope you've enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun for us to go back and revisit some of those old hunts. We still contend that Jay and Don look the same as they did 20 years ago, and he and I have aged considerably. But Boone Town is not the last. This was just the first installment. Maybe we can top it on the next installment.
I cannot wait for our next trip back to Boone Town. Thank you, everybody. As we always say, it was created for you.
Our videos are different.